Hi, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Today, I am joined by Katie Hill, a hairstylist from South Carolina who came across my scroll about a month ago for the sweetest viral video shared from Hairbrained of her working behind the scenes doing hair in an assisted living facility. The video was precious. I went to Katie's profile, binged all of her content, and then reached out and asked her if I could have her on the podcast. And now here we are. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, great. How are you?
So good. Katie and I just met 2 minutes ago, so we do not know each other in any way, shape, or form. You guys are going to be hearing me get to know her. I feel so honored to have this platform where when I am scrolling, rather than just following someone for years and always liking their content, I can just say like, hey, let's chat and let's get to know each other. So I know good people when I see good people, and I can clearly tell that you're a good human, and I just want to get to know you and chit chat.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm so excited to be
Yeah.
here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So tell me a little bit about your story. You're in South Carolina. I think you said you were licensed for what, 4.5 years, been in the industry for 8. Tell me your story that leads you to here.
Well, I mean, as far as doing hair, I pretty much knew since I was old enough to understand what the concept of a job was that I
Yeah,
wanted to be in the beauty industry.
love.
Growing up, I thought it was definitely going to be geared more towards makeup. When I was younger, I was really into like doing special effects makeup and stuff. So one of the first jobs I had pertaining to the field was, even though I was like 16 and not licensed, I was in
Yeah,
cosmetology school and I was working for like local haunted houses and doing like special
amazing.
effects makeup. And then for a year and a half, I was contracted with Gerber, like the baby company, and I did hair and makeup for them. So, where I'm located in the upstate of South Carolina, I am in Spartanburg, but their photo shoot station was in New Jersey, and then they moved it down to Greenville. And I worked at a boutique at the time in high school, and the woman that owned the boutique also worked at Gerber and did marketing. And when they moved their photo
Okay.
shoot station down here, she was like, "Well, you should apply for the job." And I was super young, so I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't really know, dude. Like that seems a little far." But I applied, and
But
I
that
worked
would
for
be
them
what
for
you
a
would
few years.
expect. You were doing hair for and makeup for babies?
Yeah, it's like
That's
it sounds
precious.
insane, but also sometimes like the parents would shoot with the kids. It was actually a lot more complicated than it sounds because like if a baby, for example, like if they had a nail and like I know one time like a baby had accidentally like itched its face and like there was a scratch. So
Yep.
you have to cover that up, but you have to literally make it look like baby skin. So it's
Yes.
so
And babies, I
difficult
mean,
to
get
do.
baby acne. I'm a mom, so like I've definitely, I mean, very rarely does newborn skin what you see on commercials. So I bet it is way more complicated than you'd think.
Yeah, so that and then also like the moms sometimes they would shoot so you would have to do some kind of like natural hair and makeup look on the mom. And also at the time like I had not even graduated cosmetology school yet. So I was experienced with makeup, but I had never had a job like that. So getting into that really early I think got my foot in the door really well.
Yeah,
And then graduated, assisted for a little while and then started booth renting after like 9 months and then
amazing.
we've been here ever since.
And
So
how long ago did you start at the place that you're at now?
So I started in January. I don't know
Okay.
how much of my page you stalked or like how much
I
of
feel
my
like
work.
quite a bit, but maybe not as deep as I could have.
So back in January, I previously before working at Hive where I work now, I was working at another salon and I started there like well now about 4 years ago, but at the time like 3.5 years ago. And the owner at the time had the business for a while, was 64, and at 65 she knew she was retiring.
Okay.
So she, after about 3 weeks of me being there, approached me with the idea of buying the business from her once she retires and taking it over. And the price that she gave me was just unbeatable. I have always been somebody that's been very work driven and just like
Hmm.
that's the one thing in my life I feel like I'm confident at and like I can do. And I said yes. So I worked there for 3 years, worked my way up, saved all this money, hired a whole staff of girls, bought everything I needed to buy, did everything I needed to do. State board came out and did the inspection, all that. And then, long story short, the guy that owned the little strip mall that my salon was in was a
Yeah.
doctor, and he owned a practice that was next to us in that
Okay.
strip.
Hmm.
So he had also bought the building when he put the practice there. And I inquired about a lease for like several months and was emailing the property manager. And he would talk to me, but he would never send me the lease. And then at this point, we were a month out from me taking over. And I am now hassling him for the lease. I multiple times would walk over to the doctor's office in person, would call him, would email him, walk over there, say, "Can I see him in person?" Would get ghosted, no answer.
Mm.
And then About 3 weeks before I'm supposed to take over said business, the property manager sends me an email and says that I'm not going to be able to do the takeover because the doctor wants to expand his
Keep that
business over
property.
into where the
Mm.
salon is. And the deal that I had made with the previous owner was a separate. So I find out that I'm not going to get this business, and I'm like, oh my God. And I really only had a span of like 3 or 4 days to potentially look for somewhere else in my city that
Mhm.
had a space that was available. But it was either the rent was absolutely astronomical, or the space
Mhm.
was way too small,
Mm.
or it was like a non-compete situation where there was somebody else in that strip and I couldn't put a salon
Mm.
there. So I attempted to do that, and then I just realized I wasn't going to be able to do it, and they were forcing me out of the space. I had already
Mm.
hired a staff of 6 girls that I had to let go before
Wow.
I even hired them. Half of them had already put in notices at their previous job, so it was super, like, talk about awkward.
Mm.
Also had just posted everything on my social media. Like, I had never said anything on my social media for 3 years about it because I was
Keep it
waiting. I
hush
didn't want to
hush.
like
Wait for
call it
that
too
big
soon.
announcement. Oh.
Yeah, so I literally do it like 3 days before everything happens. And so yeah, that goes insane. I don't know where I'm going to work. I have to fire all these girls. I have a full schedule starting like January 3rd. This was like the end of
Wow.
December at this point. My house is like flooded with furniture and paint.
It's always when it rains it pours kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just awful. To be really honest with you, the woman that owned the salon, we kind of had like a family friend connection. Like, her son worked with my mom, but like I didn't really know. I knew of her before I started working there, but once I started working there, she became like kind of like a mentor to me. I learned a lot from her. I
Mhm.
learned a lot about working with an older clientele from her. So
Mhm.
I am really grateful for a lot of things, but she was someone that I looked up to in a just a different aspect of like being an
Yeah.
adult and being someone I can go to. So I approached her a few days before I was supposed to give her this 10 grand, and I was just very like shaken up. I do well with confrontation if I'm mad, but if I'm upset
Mhm.
about something, I'm like, please,
I'm gonna
please. Like,
cry.
so I'm freaking out, and I'm like, listen, I know you're about to retire and 10 grand is a lot of money. So I don't want to take
Mhm.
you out of this deal. Like,
Mhm.
but is there any way that we can get this price knocked down a little bit? Because like
Mhm.
I went from thinking I'm going to own a business to not
Mhm.
knowing where I'm going to work.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't even know how to describe the feeling. She told me that she would only knock the price down to 9 grand, and that was only if I gave it to her all in cash. So
And can
I
I ask what
then,
you were purchasing if it wasn't the space? Was it the clientele? Was it the furniture? What is it that you
yeah,
were purchasing?
like
Okay.
I did end up getting her clients, and a lot of them to this day are still my clients and are great people.
Did you end
Waves
up
all
going
the
through with
time.
that deal or no?
Yeah, I mean, I basically had no other choice, so I
Mm.
had to. So I
Okay.
lost. I mean, all in all, I did end up losing about 10 grand because
Mhm.
I gave her the 9, and then I only had a certain amount of days that I could get stuff out of the building because I
Mm.
technically had a 30-day notice, but I had a full schedule starting January 3rd, and in between that, I was working at the assisted living. So
Mm.
I didn't have a 30-day. I had like a 3-day. Like, I
Yeah.
can't take time off of work. So I had 3 days to gut everything out, and I sold some stuff on Marketplace, like bigger furniture. Most stuff, like I had two of my friends that were helping me haul stuff off to Goodwill, and like I just couldn't take it anywhere. Some stuff did go to the assisted living. Like, I had extra towels
Amazing.
that hadn't been used much.
Yeah.
I think like a mirror or two, some decorative stuff, not too much, but a few things. And then I ended up messaging the owner at Hive, Savannah. I have been offered a place at Hive twice in the past before,
Mhm.
and I declined because of
Mhm.
my situation. I always had a very odd magnetic pull.
Mhm.
And I say this to the girls now, and they're probably like, yeah, yeah, whatever. I know that they love me here, but they're probably like, yeah, be for real. But I'm being so for real. I always just have like a really good vibe about this place. So I had told myself I'm going to reach out to Hive, and if something's not available there, I'm just going to get a suite. And like, that's just
Mhm.
how it's going to go.
Mhm.
And luckily I reached out, and when I got here, like I immediately stepped in the door. One of the girls that works here, Reagan, who is like one of my best friends now, I had known her previously, so it was a little bit comfortable seeing her, but I didn't know these other girls. And I walked in, and they immediately walked me to their back room,
Mm.
sat me down, were like, girl, tell me everything. Because
Oh.
they all, when I posted something about initially taking over the salon, they
Yeah, I
all
didn't scroll that
commented.
far back. I didn't see all that.
They all commented on my post and they were like, "Oh, congratulations," which now I have the original post taken down where I
Yeah.
announced that I was taking over the salon. I just have the post up announcing that I'm moving and there's like a
Okay.
long caption. So long story short, that's what happened. It was super traumatic. I'm really glad that the universe put me where I am now because I could not imagine being anywhere else. I work with some of the best girls ever, not to
Incredible.
mention like everything that we do here is like right up my alley because the other women that I were working with, they were all like 60 and up,
But that
which is
really, I love your page. Like when I first, so it was like Hairbrain, then I went to your page, and I love the mix of like the sweet residents mixed in with like slayed modern day hair. Like I love that vibe, but what you're describing makes perfect sense that your story has led you to this. And you said this was all just happened this January.
yeah,
So
literally, yeah,
9 months ago. So I just want to say that too. I don't know how if you've listened to my podcast at all, but I'm a little bit woo-woo. I really believe in like everything is happening for you. Everything is happening for a reason. And like look at the opportunities that 2024 is bringing you now. Completely different than what you would have thought this time last year. But what an incredible story.
yeah. It's really insane. Like going through that experience, I there's just no way to describe like the emotions of like
Mhm.
going through that and like I don't know, man. That was a really tough situation and that situation really was mentally just very, very tough. Not to mention, I'm like 23,
Mhm.
so I've only been I've only been licensed for like 4 years,
Yeah.
and I've always been very passionate in my work about what I do, and I try very hard. So
Yeah.
for that to happen, it was very insane. It also was a very this is the first time I'm ever publicly talking about this and the situation with the old owner. And there's a
Yeah.
chance that she may end up listening to this, but I
It's
just
your truth. It's your story. Yeah.
yeah, it's just it really shows you a lot about people and it gave me a really good lesson in just like following my gut and like learning what is right for me and what isn't right for me because I felt it in my gut 2 years ago that I should have inquired about being at this salon
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't. And I almost had a brief thought when I got offered to take over the salon like should I just say no and go to
Mm.
Hive? And like
That was your
like I'm
intuition.
saying,
Yeah.
but
I
it's
wanted to ask you that
yeah,
now. Is being a salon owner still feel like very much like your pull? Like that's something you're supposed to do or not necessarily in this moment?
no. And
Obviously
the
you're
weird
young, but like, so that's why I also just feel like things happen for a reason. And I'm sure in that moment, after 3 years of prepping for this, telling everybody mentally just like going there, having this vision, having this dream, I'm sure that was like crushing. But I also would believe that you're not meant to be a salon owner. This industry, you can do so much in this industry. And being a salon owner, everyone thinks that's like the next step. And I have found after the years of working with stylists, like, sure, that's an option for some people, but there are so many other options that have such lower overhead. And so that's what really fascinating, interesting story, but it's not surprising at all hearing that kind of like older school vibe meets with Hive, which sounds like it's definitely your place, definitely your people to bring you to where you are. So when did you first go into the assisted living facility and what was that initial pull?
I really just always wanted to do it. People ask me this question all the time, and I'm like, I don't really know. I just thought of it one day, like years ago. There's a facility that's near my house, and I'm really not even sure if it's like an assisted living or like what it is, but multiple residents live there. That's what it kind of seems like. And I volunteered there when I was like 10 years old with a church group. And I just remember
Precious.
going and it was cool. And like that always stuck with me. And then when I started doing hair, I was like, oh, that'd be fun. I never really thought I would have the time for it. But then last October, I had a girl come in that worked at the facility at the time, and her sister also worked there, who is the executive director who hired me.
Mm,
This girl sat in my chair and she was telling me about her job in the facility. And she brought up that there was a woman there that was doing it, but she was a little bit unreliable. And
mm,
the family had complained a good bit, or
yeah,
families had complained a good
yeah,
bit, residents had complained. So I just kind of made a joke and I was like, if you ever want to get a new person, let me know. I'd love to
yeah.
do that. And then literally she was like, okay. And the next day they hired me and I
Precious.
came up there. It's been great ever since then. So I go once a week. I started
Okay.
in mid October. So once a week, normally on
So
Monday or
just about a
Tuesday.
year now, you've been forming these connections.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that's so
Coming
weird.
up
Yeah, a
on it.
year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's really great. I normally get there around like 9:30 in the morning and stay until between like 12 and 2, depending on how many people I have. Most of the time it's like a really light day and I only stay until like 11:30 or 12, but then it's like I'll
Okay.
have 1 week every 6 or 8 weeks where everyone wants their haircut at the same
Okay.
time.
So you're much
The
busier.
Yeah, the facility is small and it's private. They can only hold up to 60 residents and they only have about 40 now, I think.
Okay. How did the residents first act when you said that you wanted to film them? My limiting belief would be that they wouldn't be interested in that. But I've been, like I said, I've been watching your content. Carol, David, Miss K, Saint Rick, Nancy. They are precious. They are hilarious, and your videos kill me. So, like, how did you initially say, I'm going to put this phone in front of you? Are you okay with being filmed? What did they say to that? Do some say no? Do you only film some of them, or how does it go?
There are definitely some that I haven't filmed, but I mean, most of them are very open to it. When I first mentioned it, none of them even knew what Instagram was, maybe
Fair.
like one. So
Yeah.
they were trying to wrap their head around that. And then I would have to explain, like, well, I have a page on here with my business. And some of them, like, I would show them and scroll on my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they would start looking at my profile, they'd be like, oh, this rainbow hair is crazy because they can't wrap their head
Uh-huh.
around that. But I just asked them and they were really chill about it, and I don't know, everyone's been really chill, and the phone is literally directly in front of their face. Like, I have
Yeah.
had some people on my videos comment crazy things about, like, people behind a
Just yucky
keyboard.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, just being like, "You're filming them without them being aware." Like, the sink is here and my phone is literally,
Like
like,
they
right here.
clearly
Like,
see that.
they just don't even mind it. They're so real and raw and just so fun to be around. I'm lucky with my group though. I have a really
Yeah.
good group. I'm sure there are a lot of facilities where you got a lot of hard-headed residents and it can
Yeah.
get to be a lot, but for the most part everyone in there is just so sweet and like down to earth.
So precious. I was watching that one where like the news coverage came in and you were asking, I think that was what Miss K is her name. You were asking her, you're like, how would you like to get this new chair, all this new furniture, blah, blah, blah. Like she's supposed to jump in and be like, oh yeah, I want that. She's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's made me laugh so hard. They're just so sweet. They're so sweet. So what do you have any like stories? I think the initial video I saw, was it Randy was his name, your client that passed away?
Yes, Randy.
Yeah. And so that was the initial one I saw. So I mean, even within a year, I'm sure you've had some of that, but like, I don't know, has it changed your thoughts on like growing older? Has it changed you? What kind of insight are you getting from these incredible people that are on the tail end of their time here?
I feel like it's changed my life in so
Tell
many.
me, I now have no living grandparents, which is very sad. I just lost my papa last year, and then in 2020, I lost both my grandmas. And my grandma Betty, who passed away back in 2020, she lived in Kansas, but she was in the best facility. And I would go and visit her, and the people there were amazing. And I know there's better ones, there's worse ones, but other than that, I've really never spent a lot of time there. And honestly, seeing your videos, I'm like, I should be doing that every so often. Why would I not do that? Like, that's really sweet. So, yeah, what are some things that have come up or ways that they've impacted you?
It's just all around. I mean, as far as being a hairdresser, they have made me better in a sense of they will humble you in like a skinny minute. Like Miss K, for example, when I first started, I mean, she is like 90 years old and maybe is like 90 pounds. Like she's a
Uh-huh.
very small and frail woman. So
Uh-huh.
I wanted to be gentle with her, but I was not used to working on the elderly community yet. When I was shampooing her head, she just straight up was like, "Are you joking?" And I was like, "Oh,
She
a
wanted
little
you to
bit
get
more."
in there more?
Yeah, like she's like, you got to get in there with your nails, and
I
for the first
vividly
few
remember in
months.
cosmetology school, we had a group from some retirement home or something, and they'd be like, get in there harder.
And I was like, dude, like I feel like I'm gonna pierce your skin. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, so
But
sweet.
they will humble you. They will be very honest with you. A lot of them having Alzheimer's or dementia, when they get to a certain state, they are very brutally honest about everything, which I very much appreciate because
Yeah.
I want your honesty. But I pretty much never leave anyone unhappy
Hmm.
because I always am like, is there anything else I can do different? And they will just be honest and
Yes,
tell me.
there is.
So it's made me pay attention to detail a little bit
Hmm.
more, I think. As far as a person and myself, I don't know. I just feel like emotionally, there's just so many different ways it's
Yeah.
changed me. Not that I like had some kind of weird feeling about the elderly community
Mm,
beforehand, but now it's just kind of like a different view.
mm,
And I think just getting to hear a lot of their stories are just so interesting. Like, some of the women will talk about like previous problems they've had with men, or like friends
mhm.
that have pissed them off in the past, or work problems they've had, or blah blah blah. And it just makes you realize, like, no matter how little or how old or whatever, but everybody's got the same
Girl
problems.
code. The drama does not go
Yeah,
away.
the drama doesn't stop. It also has shown me that just to have a little bit more grace.
Mhm,
I don't think that I didn't, but I think that this has definitely given me a patience level and a
mm.
different understanding of how to communicate to people. A lot of times with the residents, their health will put them in a state where you kind of have to compare it to talking to a child in the way that you might feel like you kind of have to rearrange your words, but at the
When
same
you
time, like,
initially
they're
brought
not.
up Gerber, I wanted to ask you, and I didn't know if that was a wrong way to compare, but I would have to assume there is some slight similarity to that, right?
Yeah, and I hate when I say that, because I don't want to say that in a sense of people think that you're putting them down, because you're
Not
not.
in
But
any
just
way.
when I say having grace, like, if a little kid, I don't know, if I had a bowl of color, and I was done coloring my client's hair and I had some left over and I dropped it on the floor and splattered it, it's a lot easier to look at an adult and be like, come on, dude. But if a little
Mhm.
kid does it, you're probably going to look at a little kid and be like, it's okay,
I
just
didn't
help
mean
me tighten
to.
it up,
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just made me think about that a lot and be like,
Mm.
why am I not a little bit more like that in my
It's
day to day?
everyone.
Everybody's living for the first time,
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just love getting to know them. I just
That's
really
so
love getting to
precious.
know them, and they're so accepting of me. I
Yeah,
went in thinking like I'm very heavily tattooed. I've got face piercings, and
yeah.
I've got a little bit of an edgier look. And
Uh-huh.
as soon as I started the job, I walked in and I was like, I'm covered today, but if I walk in here with short sleeves, you might be a little unbothered. And they were like, no.
Yeah.
And I have only had one person ever say something to me about my appearance, and it
Uh-huh.
is a woman there who I adore, but unfortunately, she is very far along in her dementia journey.
Mm.
And she just looked at me one day and she was like, why do you have all those tattoos? And I said, I don't know. I just like them. And she just went, I don't really like them. And I was like, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to like them. It's just different. And she just said, oh, okay. And it was like she just
Oh.
understood.
So obviously, I mean, you shared so vulnerably that you lost Randy. Does it make you uncomfortable like sharing their names or no? I guess I should have asked that.
No,
Okay.
no.
Has there been more that you've lost since then or no?
No, I have not had any that I've lost. There have been two of my very regular people that had some pretty big hospital visits, I
Mm.
guess, that,
Yeah.
you know, got a little scary,
Yeah.
but everyone's fine now. But no, Randy is the only one I've lost, and that was a
Mm.
very sudden thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everyone is in the facility because they have something going on, but
Mm.
nobody in the facility thought that would happen.
Mm.
It was a very freak situation. So,
Mm. That's so
yeah.
hard. But obviously knowing and just preparing yourself for that. And I think it takes a really strong kind of person that's willing to build these connections and show up for these people knowing that. But isn't that the truth with all clients? We don't know how long any of us have, and you still love people deeply and treat them well and show up the best that you can. So that's precious. When I first found you, you had a fundraiser going. And when I initially reached out, I was like, let's spread the word about the fundraiser. The fundraiser is closed. That went very successful. Would love for you to share that. And then again, I just wanted to get to know you. So even if people just follow along on what you're doing now, your content is incredibly entertaining and inspiring. Tell everybody a little bit about the fundraiser and what you have planned for that.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, I got a news story with my local news channel that was covering me working at the assisted living. My good friend Lauren got to do it. She's great. She's also a client of mine, so that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Um, but she brought up a while ago that she had the idea to film me there. She wanted to get out on her own a little bit more and try to film some more personal news stories. She really liked what I was doing. So she came down, and I basically was having a conversation with my boyfriend one night, and I had mentioned before doing some type of GoFundMe. And then we were sitting at dinner, and he brought up doing it around the same time as the news story, which I
Yeah.
had thought about, but I didn't say it out loud
Mm-hmm.
because I just didn't want that to be perceived wrong,
GoFundMe's are always tricky. I think even when people absolutely deserve them and are going through hard things. I don't think anyone who's ever been part of a GoFundMe doesn't feel a little bit like, oh gosh, it's tricky, you know? I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what to do, but then he said it out loud and I was like, maybe you're right. So I
Yeah.
made a profile real quick, and after the news story dropped, I announced that I was going to do the fundraiser. So the goal was to raise $10,000 in hopes of redoing the salon at the facility,
Yeah.
just because it was a little outdated. Not to mention one of the chairs in there is not fully functional, so it's not safe.
Yeah.
And I just think that they deserve a little bit of a better space. And
Absolutely.
I also wanted to supply things there like tools and shears and things like that, where if I, for some reason, ever had some kind of crazy freak accident where I couldn't be there for a while, or if I could not be at the job anymore, which that will not happen anytime soon. But one day, if
All of
I,
this is going to the facility,
yes,
not
it's all staying
necessarily
there.
to you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that was the main intention behind it, but also just to give them a sense of newness, because they love
Mhm.
coming by the salon, and like some people will just pop in there when I'm there just to talk to me and just say what's up, and
Oh,
they don't even need their
yeah.
haircut. So I posted the GoFundMe online. I decided that I was only going to run it for the month of August because, again, I just didn't want to drag it out. So also on top of the fundraiser, two other things that were great is there is a local coffee shop, Botanical Brew, that is right down the road from my
Hmm.
salon, who is awesome, and I did a collab drink with them.
Awesome.
So I had the gnarly for the month,
Okay.
and 100% of the proceeds from that also went to my GoFundMe. And
Hmm.
then our neighbors right beside our salon, Sacred Magnolia Tattoo, artist there, Allison, who is great, she offered to do a tattoo raffle. So for the whole
Love the
month of August, you
collaboration.
could send in $10 for a ticket, and you could enter as many times as you wanted. And that also directly went to the GoFundMe. So I had
Amazing.
them partnered in, plus social media, and basically things just ended up going way more insane than I expected. Things were already going really, really good, and then I started having brands reach out to me, and then some other stylists that I've connected with online. One in particular, I don't know if you know Ruby Divine.
You know, I saw Ruby in all of your comments, and I don't know her well, but she's a huge part of my story too. I DM'd Ruby back in 2016, probably asking for some mentorship. She pointed me in the direction of the mentor that has literally changed my life more than anyone, Britt Siva. So Ruby is an angel on earth. I don't know
Yeah.
her super well, but she is an angel. Tell me about how she weaves into this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I followed her for a long time, but
Yeah.
she started looking at my videos when I started posting and was just really drawn to the assisted living content. And then we just started connecting online. And then as soon as I posted everything about the fundraiser, she was like all in on it. And, she was so adamant about
Oh,
just reposting my stuff and sending my stuff and tagging brands. And she was like in the comments of some of these other big pages that have reposted my videos and been like, would
I
be
saw
nice if you
that.
donate. Like she was calling
Good
out
for
dude.
her.
Yeah, good for her.
She is incredible. She really is.
Yeah. But yeah, so she shared, and then I genuinely have belief that, I mean, a lot of people were sharing, and I'm thankful for everyone, but Ruby's got some connections there. So and she was like sending my stuff to people through DMs, like
What an
without me.
angel.
So through her connections, I started getting some reposts, got reposted on Behind the Chair and Hairbrain and all that stuff. And then from there, I got a $5,000 donation
Hmm.
from a anonymous person. And unfortunately, I don't know if anyone knows this tip for people that make a GoFundMe in the future, but if you set it up as anonymous, it'll show up anonymous like on the actual feed. But
Yeah.
like me, myself, I can see who donated
Hmm.
it. I saw the name of the woman. The woman was not familiar. So I then did some internet stalking and found out that she is on the K-18 team.
Amazing.
So I then sent her a message and I was like, hey, I know you made this anonymous and
I have to
invasive,
thank you.
but yeah, I have to thank you. Also, knowing that it's from somebody with K18 is insane because I'm very passionate about K18. I've used it for
Dream
a
come
very
true.
long time. And she messaged me back, and she was like, hey, actually think of the donation from the entire team. We see what you're doing and we love what you're doing. And then she asked me for my email. And then about a week later, I got offered to be on the K18 Stylist Collective. And then from
Incredible.
there, donations just kept going. And by the end of the month, we had right over $10,000, including GoFundMe and external donations. Um,
Wow.
Not to mention, we have a few brands, and I actually have exclusive news for you that I haven't announced
Oh,
yet.
we're dropping it
Um,
here. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
So I got a really big box from Olivia Garden,
I saw
who
those videos.
is they very quickly answered me back and was like,
Amazing.
"Hey, we would be happy to supply anything. What do you need?" And all I
Wow.
asked for were a few round brushes because I
Yeah.
religiously use them. They then sent me a box that was probably like this big with the
Insane.
new Super HP dryer,
Saw that.
two sets of shears, and probably at least 20 brushes.
Oh,
I am just
over the
in,
moon.
in awe of that. Shark Fin Shears sent
I
me a
work with
set of
shark fin. I
shears.
love
Do
shark fin
you?
shears.
Well, I love them. I've gotten to use them a little bit. I have
Hmm.
like 4 sets of shears now.
Bombarding you with love. Sharkfin is a
Yeah,
great affiliate program. I've worked with them for years. I don't talk about it a ton, but I don't think Willie's with them anymore. Willie was the connection that I had there with them, but they are such good shears. They're all I've used for the last 10 years.
yeah. So I'm really excited about those. But
Yay.
the biggest little exclusive announcement I have is I am getting chairs and shampoo bowls donated, brand new. Mr. B is donating them. He owns Mr. B's furniture store in Long Island, New York, and he
Amazing.
found me through Ruby. Ruby
Amazing.
reposted my Instagram video about everything, and he contacted her and said, have her contact me. So, long story short, he's donating the chairs. They're on the way, they're
Wow.
brand new. I'm so excited.
So Mr. B, I've never even heard. Is that like that's salon furniture? I never even heard of them.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he has like his own family owned business in Long Island, New York.
Incredible. Yeah.
Very classic New York man. He wears a lot of graphic t-shirts that have to do with fishing, which I love. I love a good silly
Love.
graphic t-shirt. It's just so nice, punctual, straight to the point. Like
Amazing.
every single time I've called him, the phone call has been under like 3 minutes because it's just very like
New
I'm a
York.
business man straight to the point. But I'm so grateful for him doing that. And I'm just in shock that the fundraiser had the reaction that it did. I thought I was loony for setting the goal at 10 grand, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I think I had it set at something higher than that, and then I actually moved it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is a little crazy. It
But
just
Katie, can I just put that
is
in
crazy.
perspective for you, especially because you didn't realize that you're coming up on the year point. I'm assuming 1 year ago today, September 24th of 2023, you were probably scrambling, thinking, I'm supposed to be opening the salon. It's not happening. I need to find somewhere to go. And what a difference a year can make. I mean, fair to say you may be like going the influencer content creator route from now on, right? I mean, that's a lot of connections and a lot of really cool opportunities.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really like, I don't know, I just like posting online. I just think that the internet can really suck sometimes, but like, I normally have good intent when I go on there. And I am somebody where I'm just so busy in my day to day. It's really fun to have like little people on the internet to
Yes.
like talk to, and just
Yes.
like, I love hearing people's insight and just connecting with people. And it's just all been so fun. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into it a little bit more. I feel
Yeah.
like this is definitely more of a path for me, and it's something that just feels more natural to me.
Yeah. And who knows
If you
if you
can
were
work.
managing 6, 7, 8 people at this point, a year into salon ownership, this wouldn't be where you are. So that's a really
Yeah.
cool story and a reminder for everyone who's like in the trenches, which what seems like is their dream falling apart. It's actually to line you up a lot of the time for something a whole lot better. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love, I love. So we got the chairs, shampoo bowls being donated. Obviously, we have tons of product coming in. What's the plan for the rest of the space? Like, what are you gonna do to it?
So pretty much
I've heard you
everything.
asking the residents, and they're like, I don't know. Someone's like paint all the walls red. Like, they have
Yeah,
no
no,
idea.
literally, I'm so frustrated with them because I keep asking them and they're like, "Well, do whatever you want to do." But I'm like,
This
"Guys,
is
like
for
give me a
you.
color. Yeah, give me a color or something." So, I need to go pick out some paint swatches, but I basically just have to order a lot of things,
Okay.
and I'm kind of waiting on the bowls and the shampoo chairs to do
To
anything
build around that
crazy.
for
Just
sure.
because it's like an old classic barber station. So like the
Hmm.
sink is at the chair. So I
Yep.
just spin them around. But my first day going in will be October 7th. So I'm going to
Okay.
be going in during the day and just painting, getting done what I can. I'll probably only split it up into like 2 or 3 days just
Assuming you're
because
gonna vlog all that, so we'll get to see all that content.
I'm super excited for that. Very, very excited. I'm just waiting on some things to come in. I just have to order stuff and just get time because, like, again, I have a full time job and I work a lot, like a
Yeah.
lot. So I just kind of have to work around that as well.
Totally. That is so amazing. But you would say I mean, I have to assume, you don't have to obviously share the details of this, but I would have to assume going into initially when you first went into the assisted living facility, I would have to assume that the pay is not anything comparable to behind the chair. Maybe it is. So that's the thing. Like you are clearly doing this for your heart. You are fulfilling a different part of your needs than like the financial business growing. And I just think that that's beautiful and takes the right kind of person to care to do that. And I think that the results that have come and the opportunities that have come your way is because good people deserve good things to happen to them. And I think that's exactly what's happening with you. That's really awesome.
I appreciate that so much. It definitely was a little bit of a trial to get to where I am right now.
Totally. But
You know,
talk about perspective. And I just want to encourage you, and I'll take that nugget for myself too, to remember that next time it feels like you're in a really rough patch. Like it is, things are working behind the scenes to lead you to something a lot greater. I truly believe that. I love the internet. I love sharing, yet that's why we're here yapping for an hour about this. So if you ever want to do a podcast one day, if you ever have questions, I just love building these connections with people and getting to know new friends on the internet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so
Amazing.
much.
I'll obviously link your Instagram. We have no active fundraisers or anything. People can just follow along and see what's in store for you. Your
Yeah.
obviously your business's journey and the assisted living facility journey.
Yeah, I'm gonna be posting as many updates as I can as far as renovating the space. But outside of that, the content will just be normal, like me catching up with them. That's what I intend on doing and just to
Amazing.
keep doing. So I love when people interact. I love when people comment on videos
Mhm.
and they love reading comments. And I just love connecting with people. So yeah, anyone
You know what would
follow
be a fun
along.
idea? This just dropped in for me. I think we can learn so much from people who have lived life before us and have wisdom. You should do like a Q&A where your followers ask you questions to ask the residents, like just whether it's life, whether it's silly. I would love to see that be a little series that you pop off with. That could be fun.
I know there's a few videos that I have where people have asked, like, I just need to go back through all my videos and look at questions that people have
Yeah.
asked that I maybe haven't answered and asked,
Hmm.
but I would love to do something like that.
So
Yeah.
precious. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today. It was so great getting to know you. I do film these a little bit in advance. I want to say this is probably going to come out in like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe. Is that okay with
Okay.
your announcement and everything that you had? Like,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. All of Katie's info will be in the show notes, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.